Hello everyone and welcome to the Talking Stick Show. So this week I am joined by Hayley Trezise. Hello Hayley.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I've had a relaxing day, so I feel pretty good.
Good. So I've been on your ecstatic dance movement when you've done them on Zoom last week and the week before. So this is how I've kind of connected with you through. I've joined the sessions and they helped me really experience freedom, experience myself as well. So can you just tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah. So, well, what do? I guess, as a general, I'm an artist. I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm an ecstatic awakening dance facilitator. I don't really like to say teacher with the dancing because it's not teaching. It's kind of just it's allowing people to kind of move freely, really. So an artist really, and I make sustainable clothing as well with that, and integrating my sacred work with my clothing. So yeah,
lovely. So
a roundabout way.
so what have you been doing? So when you were younger, what was the world like growing up for you? When did you come into your so-called, if you want to call it, awakening or awareness, going into the fashion? Can you tell us a little bit of a synopsis about what's happened and how you came onto the spiritual journey?
Well, I would say the spiritual realms have kind of always been a massive part of my life, whether they've come in different forms. From young, like that. For example, when I was younger, I believed in God, as we know it, in the Christian way, and because that was like, I'm talking about probably the ages of, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, that sort of, so quite young, not really knowing, but wanting something, knew that there was something unseen or something that felt real to me, but had no idea what it was.
Did you have any ghostly experiences when you were younger?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole flying thing, coming out of your body and flying around the stairs, and in my village, that was quite common. I think that's common in the younger folk as well, because they're, you're freer when you're younger, so you're more susceptible for allowing our spirits to kind of leave and experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so as I kind of got older, I guess I kind of actually went very anti-Christian, because of the, and I want to say, I'm not that way now. I honor, everyone's beliefs. So, but I'm talking about when I was young, when I was a teenager, I just thought I didn't want that, or believe that it was one system and that, it's good and evil and all of that stuff. So I just went to that. And I think that, but then I still had this, something, this curiosity of something, so, and I always wanted to be, well, no, not always wanted to be, I correct my words with that, because I've always been a little bit different, I've always been that kind of, not an outcast, but always just, that classic thing, I guess, I think probably for a lot of us. But, and that's where also my clothing comes from as well, about being different. I was dressing different, not only because, I just loved the unusual, it wasn't that, I loved seeking around the corner and seeing what was there rather than, hiding away from it.
As I remember when I was a kid, I went to church as well. We had to go to church to get into secondary school, St. Aidan's, to go to one of the apparently better schools. So my mum took me to church and we did Sunday school, and there was that, as much as it is controlled and there's so many different views on it, there was that part of me where I personally, like Christmas time, you did the choir and the song and stuff like that. It really resonated with me as a kid, and I liked that space of, going to somewhere sacred, or feeling like I'm going somewhere sacred or holy. So going back to the childhood, let's talk about, it'd be interesting to talk about what's the world like and why children change and why they see all these experiences and why do these experiences get removed from them when they grow up. Can we speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a lot of it's innocence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like that innocent part where children just express themselves freely and then tell us adults straight, you know, just like, oh, mummy, so-and-so's got that going on, and the parents are like going, oh my God. You know, it's just they just feel free in their bodies and in their experience. And it's society that, you know, authorities, you know, on all levels, telling these children that they can do things and they can't do things, and it should be this and it shouldn't be that. So yeah, I think that's kind of been taken away. So I think the innocence and the freedom for a child when they're young, all of their being, you know, all of their everything that they are is whole. So they're allowed to express themselves. So I think that's why, it's just my feeling, I'm only talking, you know, off my head right now, of why they're able to, why they have access to the spirit world, or to experiences, or, you know, seeing fairies and all of that, you know. It's just like, you know, magical land that they're seeing and experiencing. And it's us, or, you know, society that says, oh no, that's not real.
And the imagination, the child's imagination, is just something so unique. When we used to imagine, you know, playing and imagining doing things, their imagination was just creativity. And it seems to be now like I have to tell myself I'm still a child, and I have to start creating and seeing things in that creation aspect. And I do feel that once the ego starts coming in more, when you're like 10, 12, and you start getting hurt more, relationships, you start getting more hurt in relationships, you kind of go through that rites of passage of the school of hard knocks of the earth at the moment.
Well, that's so true, and it's so important to honor that in a child, you know, especially, I mean, I don't know whether you've done inner child work where you've kind of met your inner child, and when you're kind of meeting your inner child, it's just like, the first time I met my inner child, all I wanted to do was, like, tears came to my eyes, and I just wanted to embrace her, you know, just because of what we just said, the innocence and all that. But as adults, you know, such an incredible lesson within that to oh my God, to be childish, to be playful, to be silly, and not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know, like, so important.
And that's what I got from your, when I did the ecstatic dance, I felt like a child again. And you asked me how I felt afterwards, and I said, I felt like I had a non-agenda again, where I wasn't a male, I wasn't a female, I was just a spirit dancing. And that's, for me, was such a personal freedom, because it stopped me from thinking, I'm Dale of the now, I'm a dad, I've got responsibility. And it brought me into a huge level of self-exploration, where I was creating again, and I was laughing, and I was like going into all these expressions, and like there was no rules. It was really beautiful to be able to experience that.
Yeah, amazing. And like exactly, it's just what a child does, isn't it? Like we said. That's amazing you had that. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, so we were starting with your start journey. So going into you do the shamanic healing, and you've learned shamanism through the Sacred Trust, was it?
Yeah. I mean, I would say there came a point where after I sort of let go of everything and but still had this interest in spirituals, the sacred, whatever, the unseen, whatever labels we want to put on that.
Yeah.
I kind of explored in different ways of, you know, what my heart was drawn to, and for one being is connecting with nature, you know, and understanding how important that is, and in the real simple things, you know, just being out and sitting in a forest or walking in a forest and being present, you know. It doesn't have to be anything really profound and outrageous or, you know, elaborate.
Yeah.
For me, it was like understanding that nature was really important to me, and there was much more of an energy and a story within Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And then experiencing, different things, doing some deep ritual work with the land, with people, and in different ways. And then I think can't remember when it was a long time ago when I heard about shamanism, and I was just like, you know, okay. And then well, I don't know whether I was in a conversation or read something, but the penny dropped, you know. If I was going to put a label, put something on what I understood all of my life,
Yeah.
in some way, it was that. It was just like, I get it. I just got it. I just, you know, it was just not of words. It was just that inner knowing of just that makes sense to me. I don't know why. And then that led me to the Sacred Trust, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I kind of heard about the Sacred Trust from a friend, about Rebecca Hanscom, who runs where I taught where I learned the ecstatic awakening dance from, and we become very good friends. But back then, I was interested in shamanism at that time, and she told me about the Sacred Trust, and it was in a casual conversation, and we did some shamanic work and some journey work on her course, where I had an absolute profound experience of just some amazing information that I needed for me right then in that time of my life.
Okay.
Really simple, you know, really simple journey, but it was just like, you need to do this, and I was just like, oh, okay. I've been ignoring that one. It was about forgiveness. I need to forgive myself and let myself free. Anyway, this is a long-winded way of getting to what you just asked me.
Oh no, it's fine. Let's explore it all. It's
Yeah. And but years after, I was just like, the Sacred Trust and Simon Buxton just was I thought, yeah, actually that, and I looked into the school and I thought, yeah, that sounds amazing. I don't know why, it just resonated with me. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, well, probably 5.5 years ago, because where I just thought, right, it was very spontaneous, and I'm going to apply for that. I didn't know how I was going to finance it, didn't know anything. I just knew that it was my time to apply, and then I applied 5 days after I get an email saying you've been accepted. So then it was just like, oof, that was like the pathway to what I mean, like the pathway to me taking on a shamanic practitioner's course, knowing that was going to enter into my life. You know, it already, the shamanism and the spiritual, ritual, ceremonial work with sweat lodging and all of that was already happening. But that was when I'm actually going to take that into my life and move it forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was life-changing, really. Incredible course. And, you know, Simon Buxton, incredible teacher.
So
yeah.
One of the main things in during like the shamanism teachings is ceremony. So let's explain a little bit about ceremony, because ceremony for me had changed my life. It helped me come out of kind of a cyclical process of patterns and directions in my life. Each year I was visiting the same lessons over and over again. And fire ceremony, having some sort of process in the ceremony helped me overcome that repetitive cycle of myself. So why is ceremony so important then, Hayley? Let's talk about ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on ceremony. I love ceremony or ritual. It's just it's like a commitment to, well, first of all, it's a commitment to yourself, and it's like a celebration almost. Ceremony is a celebration. And if you're doing, I think when people think about ceremony as well, they think of it as a big group outside or some ritual thing with lots of people, which it is.
Sacrifices. When you say ritual, yeah.
Imagine yeah. And or wedding ceremony, you know, but actually I would like to emphasize on how important that is for me as well, or how important it is for people actually. But ceremony is in the simplest things, you know, like if you've got a candle and you're lighting it, and it's just about intention and being totally present. So if you're going to be lighting that candle, it's like I'm lighting this fire and bringing fire into this space. you know, and this is my prayer, or this is my intention, this is what I want to bring to this moment. So it could be incredibly intimate. It could be just you and a candle, and it could be done within about 3 minutes. You know, it's just about bringing everything to that absolute moment. And then you have the opposite to that, which is ceremony with people, with witnesses, with fire, or with some element or something that you're going to be doing. And that's just a whole different thing, you know. It's the same, but it's different. As potent, but it's different. And it's just so rich. And, you know, there's something about being in a ceremony and being witnessed as well, you know, like when you're going through something, what I mean by that, being witnessing yourself and kind of stepping into it's like you're committing to yourself, you know, you're making a commitment to go through this process. And that alone takes courage to say, I'm going to do this thing for me, just take time out of my life and go and do this ceremony. Because, you know, sometimes the mind can get in, if that's selfish or but yeah,
yeah, so
quite well.
So when I'm doing the ceremony, it's kind of like a feeling of you're an ancestor like everyone else, and you connect to the ground, you go to the site where you've been, and there's that beauty of connecting to the ancestors before I've done ceremony ritual on that land. You talked about working with the land. Let's talk a bit about the land and why has the land got an impact in the ceremony, and what do we do? What's the land mean for us during the ceremony?
Well, I think sometimes people forget that we live on land, you know, even if we're in houses and these rooms and we spend most of our time in these boxed spaces. I think we can forget that actually beneath that and surrounding us is nature. You know, it's just so important to recognize that we are all of those elements. We are fire, air, water, earth, you know, and I mean that like we need we need rain to water our vegetables. You know, we need vegetables to help us eat and live, and we need water for us to nourish our bodies. So if you really break it down to how important nature is if we didn't have nature, we wouldn't be here as humans. So to me, it's a no-brainer, you know. It's like, of course I'm going to honor that and respect that, you know, like I would my companions, my you know, human beings.
And going forward onto the fire ceremony, so let's talk a little bit about fire and what experiences have you had around the fire which you can share with us, or teachings you wish to share?
Well, oh gosh, I mean, I think fire brings a lot. If you think of, well, kind of even what fire resembles, you know, that the burning sensation of something that you can't even go near. So if you think of how you have a fire in front of you, and as you know, if you went straight through it, you hurt yourself and burn. So the power of a fire, even if it's just a little candle, you know, if your finger was over it for long enough, it would burn. So there's a power in fire alone. But there's things like even just like burning something. So even having something that you want to let go of, or something that doesn't serve you anymore, it's sort of like you put it on the fire and it disperses into nothing, you know, it burns away. So it's like that. What does that symbolize for us? You know, you're putting something on a fire with intention, always with intention. If you want to let go of something, putting it on a fire, so that's like, it's gone, it's dispersed, you know. And then, well, for example, I won't go into great detail, but there's a group of us who run sweat lodges, and fire ceremony within that is essential, because you're creating this incredible, beautiful fire that's Mother Nature, Mother Earth is providing, you're heating up these rocks for them to get boiling hot, and that's just, you know, I mean, that's just one simple thing, and then you're going into the lodge to sit in there with the heat and, you know, and ceremony. So yeah, fire ceremonies are incredible.
I've had that. Everything. Well, I think the majority of people have had those moments where you're a child and you're around the fire and the fire follows you and smokes you. You know, and you go to one side and the fire follows you and just keeps following you, and you go to the other side and the smoke follows you.
Oh yeah, 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 totally.
I had some very profound experiences when one of the process I do is for my own self-development is a process called talking to the fire, where I go and I try and remember the earliest memory as a child, and I speak to the fire with my own words. And from doing that process, it gave me a big understanding of the fire connecting to me, talking to me. And when I first started to do it, and I kind of lied, I wouldn't say lied, but I held back on the truth. The fire kind of changed and could tell I was lying. And it was really profound because I was going into the frequency, and that brought me into a deeper understanding of how it's a creative elemental life force, and it's so beautiful and potent in its magic.
Amazing. Yeah, that is, I mean, and that's so true. There's a thing that part of my work that I do with clients sometimes is confessions in front of a fire. I mean, and that's, you know, that's, you know, when you kind of look in front of a fire and you just get mesmerised, don't you? You just
Get the fire eyes. There's always a few people in the ceremony just like that.
Yeah, totally. It's just incredible. Just the power of that. But so when you're in that space, it's just sitting in front of the fire and firing off your confessions of things that, you know, true confessions, you know, the things that really are drag us down that we don't often talk about. And when you do that in ceremony in front of a fire, it's incredible. Scary.
Yeah. And that's a big thing which I feel a lot of clients who I see and myself have experienced in the past of, it's so important to be truthful, to be authentic and be authentic. The ceremony is kind of the way to be authentic, and it's a way to be in touch with your inner self, and there's no competition, there's no hierarchical order. It's just you in your own space, frequency, talking and sharing this circle of life and energy.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think trust as well. Like if you're there in a group or there with someone confessing, it's essential that you trust the person who you're with or the people. And so therefore the people who are there is like having compassionate neutrality, like just not, you know, like completely neutral, whatever they're going to say, no matter how over the line you may think it is. It's like, no, you don't judge that. It's not your place to judge that. It's for you to be completely compassionate and being completely neutral.
And that's beautiful that you talk about the neutral side, because there's a lot of teachings out there which teach about the light and the dark, but there's so many disconnection from the neutrality of being a neutral person, like you were saying, of listening to people without judgment, without giving you. It's funny because one of the main things for me is one of the most important things of my journey years back was listening to people and truly listening to them, even if I didn't agree on some parts. I'm listening and witnessing their space, and I'm not judging, and I'm not trying to change their narrative or change their opinion. So yeah, truth's good like that, to be able to express and not feel judgment and be neutral.
Yeah, because there's potential for you to step into the ego then as well, and you know, become the guru. You know, and it's
master. I was.
yeah, like, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not condemning that, but for me, that's not. I mean, I'm with you on that. That's not something I'm. You know, it's like, no, I want to empower people as much as I can. You know, and be integral and authentic as I can be within myself. You know, so yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So is there any other, so we still going into the ceremony before we go on to the dancing side of things, is there anything else you want to talk about ceremony wise, and what type of ceremony you can do, or is there anything you wish to share before we leave the ceremony talk?
Well, I think if people, you know, people want to go into ceremony, yet they can't for whatever reasons, or they think it's too big and too grand, and, you know, do something like I said, you know, create even just a beautiful altar with all the amazing, incredible things that mean something to you, whether that's pictures of your family, whether that's a picture of, you know, some Jesus, or, you know, some whatever, or having an angel there, or some crystals or candle, you know, creating a space, you know, that's creating a space like that is a ritual in itself. And then you'll have a place to sit with that, all of those things that mean something to you, that can change, you know, through time, it can take something off, and be with that. Or, like I said, you know, just lighting a candle with intention, and just seeing and trusting and seeing what unfolds for you, you know, for us as humans.
And that reminded me, when you were talking about the family pictures, so let's talk about the ancestors, and why are they important in the ceremony, and to acknowledge their existence.
Well, for me, in my work, I work in partnership and with the spirit world, and that's, I wouldn't be able to do that sort of work, my shamanic work, without them. As simple as that. So they are incredibly important. They are amongst us, you know, and it's just, and we all have the ability to connect to the unseen realms, every one of us. We just have to be willing to. We all have a curious mind and a want to connect with them.
And we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be able to have the experience without the ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to be two-legged and do what we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So going into the shamanism work, so you're a practitioner as well. Can you just tell me a little bit about what the practitioner side of things is when you have clients, so on and so forth? What does that entail, so to say?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm based in South Oxfordshire, so actually where I am now, in my cabin, that's where I do my one-to-ones and my small groups in here as well. So yeah, I mean, it's healing work. So there's, you know, one aspect, let's just talk about, so soul retrieval, extractions, deep session, curse unraveling. Yeah, so that's, and divination work as well. So that's kind of, I mean, that's a very brief little description of what it is. But how that would work as well with clients, if someone's interested, I would always do a diagnostic journey before to see what they needed, even if they came with something very specific, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. And then I would do a diagnostic journey to see what was needed in partnership, see, with the spirits. So always journeying to ask them of what this person needs. So yeah, and that can, I mean, it can be done face to face or distantly. It just depends on what people prefer, really, or obviously what's available. If I was going to do distant work, remote work, and they were far away, then yeah, it's just as potent. It's out of time anyway, so.
Yeah. So you talked about curses. What are curses, and why do curses connect to the shamanic work?
Well, it's ancestral healing, actually.
Yeah.
That would be, so I mean, it could go back to even just a self curse. You know, if we were going to just repetitively say, you know, I'm this, you know, da da da. So that's a self curse. To something that was way old, that we haven't, you know, it could be thousands of years old, and it would have an effect, because if a curse was laid a long time ago, and that curse has not been removed or severed as such, that can have an effect throughout the whole, all of your ancestors, all the way to your place where you are now. So I mean, it could come in, and that could have an effect on us as people, as everyday people, like we're behaving in a certain way, or we're something in our life just keeps happening or popping up, and and sometimes that can be because it's got nothing to do with us in our life or healing, but something that have been carried forward. And when we can clear that path, when we, like, say you and I in our time now, if we can clear that ancestral path, then we're at the front, you know, for our children, and so on and so on. So, you know, to clear as much as we can regards to that, then, you know, that won't roll on down into the generations.
And there's like looking at the cursing side of things, I've had a few clients who've had family crests in their lineage, which is, if you go back and get on the ancestry.com and you look back into your lineage, and you know the symbols, like they say the shields and stuff, you get someone in your lineage who's got all those shields, and they've got the name, the special name. That I've looked into it, and there's so much energy coming from that lineage. If you've got a family crest in your lineage, it gets passed down as a curse, so you're more likely to suffer from trauma or abuse, so on and so forth. So it's so interesting that everything connects back through the ancestors and through the lineage, and we, the people of the now, have the responsibility to clear it and balance it.
Totally. It's so important. I mean, when you really go into the depths of curses, it's not, you know, sometimes it's not good. But it's not good because, you know, because more, I mean, they cannot be, but they're intentional. So it can be unintentional, you know, just through like throwing a dart, you know, it can just be like that or whatever. I can't, I was going to swear then.
Dario got a beeping machine.
Oh, right, okay. You know, just throwing something out at somebody, you know, it can be that simple. If you're doing it with that raw, you know, that it can have an effect. But then there's intentional, whereas people, you know, even in our lifetime, isn't just ancestral. When it's done with intention and in a ritual, like we were just talking about, then it's not good. You know, then that's when it's, I mean, none of it's good. But that's why it's really important work.
Beautiful.
To unravel and clear up.
And that comes down to, so your course you're doing at the moment, the 6-week one about sovereignty. Sovereignty seems to fit in a lot with balancing the karma and the curses of trying to disentangle your energy from the system, disentangle from the curses. And it's kind of bringing yourself back, isn't it? So talk about sovereignty for a little bit and what true sovereignty means for you.
Well, it's about for me, that's a really important thing you said actually for me, because everybody probably has a different perspective of it. You know, I think sovereignty is very connected with a monarchy and, you know, king and queen, and yes, that's kind of, I guess, where it's come from. But there's personal sovereignty. So, well, who am I, and what am I here for? What's my purpose? You know, I'm into that real true question of sovereignty, and kind of standing up in your place. And it's not about being egotistical and, you know, hierarchy or like I'm here, everyone else can stand over there. It's about you standing amongst everybody else with your shoulders back. I mean, metaphorically, but with your shoulders back and upright, and saying, this is who I am, and I'm going to honor that and own that and caress it and just bring it closer to me, you know, and be completely true to yourself. It's your true self, really, of just standing in the world and being proud of yourself, you know, and but also facing the aspects that aren't serving you, you know, and going through meeting your inner child and, you know, what things need to be cleared up, and loving all of those aspects, those wounded child or the wounds that you hold.
That's it. And the inner child work, there seems to be a lot of, I've had people talk about, I've done forgiveness for my inner child, but the way I see it is each year you go through different experiences and you can have different traumas which come up from the inner child. So it's like doing the inner work, finding your inner sovereignty is a slow process. It's not an event where you go to a ceremony, you're all slap, bam, I'm done, I don't need to do anything anymore. It's like a disciplined process, isn't it, of awareness and gentleness and happiness and forgiveness as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it, exactly that. I think it's really important at this time as well, you know. I think, you know, like where we're all at, so, well, you know, Sovereignty, where am I in this world, you know?
It's crazy. We've had a crazy year, haven't we?
They're still here, so it's good.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the course you're doing then. So what does it entail then, the 6-week course on sovereignty?
Well, it just actually, it's the reason why it came about was because, I guess, because I've really had to work on my own sovereignty. All that I do is, you know, has been a journey to get somewhere. And I can't remember, it was a while ago, and then it was like someone said something to me about sovereignty, and it just went, it was like this, it was there, like saying, hey, look at me, understand me. And anyway, and then I knew I wanted to do a course, and I literally just did it. So how, always with partnership with the spirits, I knew that I wanted to do a course. I knew the title was going to be Sovereignty. How it was going to be, I was unsure. I knew what the end was going to be. That was really exciting. I'm talking about the first session. I've just started a second round. And yeah, so and then as it unfolded, I just, each week came, I did some journey work, and I have to say, I basically passed my trust over to the spirit world every week through journey work, saying, help me. I've got this course this on Thursday. Give me the information of how it's supposed to run. And every time they came back, and I didn't know until that they were here, of why it was like that. I mean, it was incredible. It really was. So I did that in my first 6-week sovereignty course in February, March. And then of course we've been in lockdown and all what's happened. So I'm just sort of putting it back out there in the world, but the feedback from them, you know, was amazing. You know, I say that not for me, but for them. You know, they just got so much out of it, and you know, found it quite transformational. So that was amazing to hear, and they kind of did some beautiful work with their sovereignty.
Beautiful. And it's great, isn't it, when to feel that you're helping them become their own masters. There's so many teachings out there to become a guru, or a master has to teach you and you're not a master, but in the reality of the universe, the creation, we're all masters. We're all our own mastery, learning each other and learning ourselves. So there's that fine line of not stepping on their journey. But for me, one of the main things of my healings to help people find, like, the sovereignty, find their own spark, and they can do it. They can heal, they can, and I don't want to be part of being the teacher and they're like my students or anything like that. It's so important to have that respect and help people find themselves, and not, if you get what I mean, not have that connection, so on and so forth.
Exactly, and that's what, you know, this course was about, really. Exactly that. It's like saying, hey, where's your sovereign?
Not giving your power away all the time to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Validation.
And through that, you know, there's obviously journey work. I teach journey work through that, and creativity, ritual, lots of sharing, you know, and the other thing which I realized when I started doing that is that, you know, I love being in that space and holding that space and being with people in that space, and I just would love to create a sort of a community around that, you know, of like, so I'm starting my second round with the same people, not all of them, but the same people who did it in January, and I'm just starting a new one in October, repeating the first one. So I have no idea where it's going or unfolding, but I do love the idea of something growing. So there's a network of people, community, where people can weave amongst each other, you know.
Beautiful. And that triggered me then when you said weave. I was reading yesterday about Grandmother Spider in this book, and how important it is to, when we're doing our own creations, like the course of how well it's going for you. It's a web you're creating out of love and out of authenticity. So it's blossoming into such a beautiful thing. Sometimes we can create from a place of fear or a place of worry, and we kind of get tangled in our own web and kind of a bit confused where we're going. So it's beautiful that you're creating your own web, and it's all manifesting because the intention and your sovereignty, your I am presence, your soul spark, so to say.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. And so let's go forward a little bit to the dancing. So we came to talk about the dancing. The dancing's been
Whizzed away.
So let's talk about dancing. Why is it important to dance, and how has dancing changed your life?
I just love dancing, and I always have loved dancing. It's just about, my body I just feel so free when I allow my body to move, and it's always been like that. I've never really personally ever cared about what people think when I'm moving. I'd go out to parties or festivals and just, oh my God, I just dance all night, just love it. And when I did the training with Rebecca, I realized then, I went to one of her classes and realized, like, oh my God, ecstatic dance. Oh my God, I get it. Okay, this is done in a different way. But just, movement about, we can really neglect our bodies. I think, as a society, our bodies take us everywhere, and we're always kind of and we just sort of, things happen to them and we just get up and carry on. But when we really start to tap into our bodies and listen to its voice, listen to the different aspects of what it's telling you, then we can really understand it. And actually, I truly believe we can heal it as well through that, through movement and honoring this vessel, and also it's like we can really berate our bodies so much, particularly as women, through we're too this, we're too that, we're too everything possible, and we're just like constantly putting ourselves down. Of course, I'm talking generically. I'm not everybody's like that, but if we can just get rid of all of that and just, it's all they're all woven together, all of these things I'm talking about, but if we can honor our bodies and start listening to them and freeing them up through movement, I mean, it's so liberating when you start to move. And then you really know when you're not tuned into your body, when you're sat there and you're finding it really difficult. And that's okay, totally, because that's your story, my God, But yeah, if you can crack through that, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's that, cracking through the seriousness side, and so many of us have the serious stick stuck up our own arse sometimes, where we're so uptight and the way we go about. And for me, the dancing, it created me to just be joyful, be happy. And like you say, so many people experience not being in the body all the time, and they think the experience is out there, but realistically it's in here. And it's so important to be grounded. And like you say, you get into, when I was doing the process of on your event, it was, you were telling me to feel my body, feel how I was feeling, instead of trying to go out there all the time, just be present here in my body, experiencing it.
Absolutely, yeah. And your body can just tell you so much, when you really start listening to it. It's like, why our bodies sometimes kind of fall apart and have it, through injuries. If you don't deal with them, they just prolong and get worse, and even bigger things can have such an effect.
I was researching this clan, this Native American clan in I think it was South America, and they used to have rattlesnake rattles on the end of the toes, and they'd put, like, say about 50 on each toe, and they'd just be dancing, with a rattlesnake. And it just made me think that, right, I'm going to have to try and get rattles for my feet. How fun would that be?
Oh my God, definitely. They just make you want to dance all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another good point, actually. You know, dancing and shamanism is so essential. You know, it's like using your body, and, you know, using your body as a vessel. It's what shamans do, you know, in cultures, you know, across the world. Using your body as a tool on all aspects. So movement, expressing, especially when you're merging with a spirit, it's like your body's moving, you know, it's moving with that spirit. So yeah, dance is just so, or movement is so important.
And for me, out of all majority of my experiences, the more, I don't like to say something's better than the rest of my experiences, the more I'd say potency and lasting long effects I've had in ceremonies where I'm drumming or I'm rattling and I'm dancing for like an hour straight, and I'll get to the point where I break through myself of the ego, I break through the doubt and the everything, and where I'm just in the flow of dancing. And from how I feel the energy's built up, even children dancing, there's no, the potency of children dancing like in a room is just crazy. Like the energy which comes off them, it's like they're just freeing and changing the land as they dance, and they disconnect from all the system and who they are, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. It's the freedom, isn't it? Freedom of allowing, not even thinking, just like their body just totally being and expressing however they want to. I would love to see this world like that. I would love to be able to just like go out on the street and just see people just like, yeah, man, I just want to dance. And
Everyone's just dancing.
doing it, you know? It's brilliant.
It'd be so good. All the clans are dancing and coming together and saying, hang on, let's just dance. Let's forget this bullshit sandwich of working to earn money and being a slave. Yeah. Let's just dance.
Yeah, totally.
So how long have you been doing the ecstatic dance groups then?
Well, I think I did my training about 11 years ago, and then on and off, I've been doing it like classes, you know, not all the time since then, but wherever I've lived in various places, I've kind of set up classes face to face. And then this online one I've done, I think for about, I think it's like 21 weeks now. New thing for me to do it online. And at first I just thought, oh, sod it, I'm just going to give it a go and see how it is, and got all the right protocols of what I had to do with buying music law stuff, and just went for it. And I just, you know, really promoted it as much as I could, and I've continued doing it. And it took me, like the first session, obviously technical things was like, that's been an issue throughout, on and off.
You know, the original sound thing on Zoom, yeah. I did it without it for like the first ceremony with the drum, and it just sounded so bad. It was like crackle, like, and the rattle just sounded awful. And I was like, someone was like, you got to put the original sound on, dude. And I was doing it for like 2 sessions without it, and I was like,
it's totally. But this is how you learn, isn't it? You learn from people telling you like, this isn't working. I had exactly the same. But yeah, so I've been doing it and I've been loving it. And actually, I realise it's actually really a beautiful thing to do. People are in their own little sanctuaries.
Yeah.
You know, they're in their safety. There's, you know, and it's exactly the same, really. You know, people are eyes, because it's an eyes closed movement. So it's an internal journey that you're going on. And anyway, so when you're at home, it's, you know, doesn't make any difference, really. That's what I've come to feel anyway with it. So I've got a lovely group, you know.
So when's the next one? It's every Wednesday, isn't it? So the next one will be, so what date are we on for Wednesday? Would be the Wednesday, the 2nd of September.
Yeah, Wednesday 2nd, 6:30 till about 8:15. Yeah, just message me directly and
when I post the show, I'll pop it on under the YouTube. I'll put the event link, and I'll put the her Facebook and Hayley's how to get hold of her. So just before we leave the show, so how can people get hold of you?
So, well, actually, absolutely fine not talking about that, but this is a point of reference of where people can find me at the moment, is my website, which is my sacred artwork and my sacred garments and my clothing that I create. So, and that is hayleytrezise.co.uk. So it's HAYLEYTREZISE. I'm sure you'll pop that up.
Yeah.
So that's where you can contact me, and then otherwise email me hayley.trezise@googlemail.com. And any questions with regards to anything we've talked about, I'm always happy to chat or Zoom, or, you know, to see if anyone wants any healing work, then yeah,
Beautiful.
on my way.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have to have you on in a few months' time, because I've really enjoyed this experience. It's been great.
Yeah, me too, Del. Thank you for your work. It's really good what you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for your work as well. I'll be dancing on Wednesday as well. I'll be there.
Oh, guys, you need to come.
So thank you everyone for watching the Talking Stick Show. If you like what you listen to, then please subscribe and comment. I always appreciate your feedback. So I'll see you next week. Aho. Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you so much.